This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready? Jake, welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.
Hey, Eric, thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. If you could just start off and tell listeners, viewers, who you are and what you do.
Hey guys, I'm Jake Marmulstein, founder and CEO of Groundbreaker. Groundbreaker is an all-in-one investment management software that helps real estate syndicators be able to raise capital more efficiently, report to their investors in a more transparent way, look professional, be compliant, and secure with your investor data.
Very nice. It sounds like you're giving that just a time or two.
I add a little bit of twist in each time,
Try it out.
and keep it fresh.
Just some A/B testing. So you're at the crossroads of real estate, tech, finance. What's your why? Why pick Groundbreaker to start?
So, well, just growing up entrepreneurial family and seeing that that's something that I wanted to do. I kind of had it in me ever since I was young. Started working early, and then deciding that I wanted to work for smaller companies. Started something on my own in university, nonprofit organization. Then went into managing a team, doing that, working for the man for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then over time I just figured there was an opportunity in the real estate investment space to start Groundbreaker. And that story began when I worked in a REIT, and it was a 5-person REIT, great opportunity. I was on the ground floor of a burgeoning business in the mid-size hotel investment sector, and we were doing a lot of deals, and I was managing the back office pretty much. And it was just, a tremendous amount of work. I was surprised by the lack of technology. I said, there has to be a better way to do the things that I'm doing, because I'm spending hours and hours after midnight working on Excel spreadsheets. And that's what gave me the idea to start Groundbreaker. But the entrepreneurial journey and the why behind doing what I do, I think it just comes from wanting to push myself, grow, take on challenges. And then Groundbreaker was a perfect fit with my experience. I think it's a huge problem that I can solve. And hope to keep doing it.
Yeah, very nice. So the idea behind Groundbreaker is that you have multiple investors coming in together on one deal.
Yeah. So when you're raising money for real estate, and most people do it this way, you use other people's money, and they write small to large checks if they're individuals or they're institutional investors, which can fund your entire deal, or you can add a lot of people into a single deal. And the process of doing that, when you add a lot of people, which has become more and more common these days, is it just becomes a nightmare for being able to run your life or your business, basically shut down and have to be on the phone and on email, all day for 2 weeks. And there's a lot more nuance in it, but essentially, yeah, it's a lot of admin work.
Yep. That's awesome. Sounds like you're fulfilling a need for sure. And the topic of raising capital has always fascinated me in terms of, deals and negotiations and just the size of the deals, monetarily speaking, financially speaking. So I guess talk a little bit about, your first experience with raising capital and how that went.
So actually, the first time I was doing this on my own, I was trying to raise $500,000 for a hotel acquisition in Rio de Janeiro, of all places.
Wow.
I was down there working for the government, and we identified some building that was off market and it was old and really, destroyed. There was a need for that area to be renovated, and the whole downtown city area was being renovated. Government was putting a lot of incentives, and there was a lot of federal dollars with federally backed companies that were moving in there. GTIS, for example, New York-based institutional investment fund, was investing there hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I had this great opportunity, and I tried to raise money from investors in the United States. And I was just 20, 21 at the time. I got an architect who was a friend of mine to draw up the floor plans. I put together the pitch deck. I had the model and everything, and it was a lot harder than I thought.
I'm sure. How was it approaching, all the people that you're pitching this to, and how or were they receptive to it?
It was, there were so many questions that I had to answer because I was dealing with the local regulations and the stability of the government, and things that you typically don't have to think about when you're doing real estate in the United States. So it was tough.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my visa was running out, and I was not able to stay there much longer. So the deal ended up, going by the wayside. But somebody bought the building later, and that whole area experienced an incredible amount of a renovation and change. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Sounds like a great experience for sure. What would you say is your biggest lesson learned or takeaway from that experience?
I think what you have to do when you're raising money is really develop relationships first. Have those people who believe in you first. I was really young, and I didn't really have that much of a network at the time, not like I do now. And so, using your network, being able to have people believe in you and build that network along the way, thinking about you know just the long term, you can have a much better chance at raising capital your first time. And it just takes one time to be able to do it, to have the courage and experience to do it again and do it better the next time. Yeah, focusing on your network is really important.
For sure. What about Groundbreaker itself? I mean, obviously you're helping real estate professionals raise money collectively, but has Groundbreaker itself, did you have to go through a capital raising round to get where you are today in terms of, your platform and technology and all that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I recommend every software company to raise money. It it takes
Well,
a
they're
lot of
expensive, huh?
yeah, it takes a lot of money to be able to build software, and it takes a long time. So
Yeah.
we started out though without any funding. I had $10,000 to my name, and I was working in New York City. I had this idea to do the platform and started doing it while I was consulting on the side so I could pay my rent.
Wow.
And then 8 months later, I was almost out of money when we had our biggest month yet, and we were able to pay profits to everybody on the team, and we even reinvested some, and it kind of kept growing and growing from there. And
That's
then there
awesome.
was this point where, years later, we hit a wall.
Mm.
We just hit a wall because our infrastructure that we built it on, wasn't built the best way because we didn't have the money to be able to invest in it.
Yeah. That sounds like relationships and maybe giving yourself enough runway, so to speak, or time to build a company, especially in software, is key. But are there any other like general tips or advice that you would give people trying to start companies in general?
Absolutely. My best advice for people is to really think lean, use software as much as you can to build your stack on free tools or low cost tools. Validate your concept, do all of the testing that you can without spending a lot of money, and get real customers. Build a product if you're able to, or hire a contractor to build something for you, and you'll invest a certain amount of money into that, and then you can have a proof of concept, and then you can raise capital.
Yeah,
In today's world, people don't really raise capital on ideas anymore. You really have to have experience, or I just don't see it getting done as frequently as maybe in the early 2000s.
yeah,
And maybe the last guy that I saw do that was the founder of Udemy.
oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Um, in terms of negotiating, how much negotiating power does a young startup have really when it comes to asking for money?
Well, there's a bunch of different levers you can pull on. One is your experience, two
Yeah,
is your team, three is the size of the market you're going after. Um, 4 is whether you know the investor has good deal flow or not.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're the entrepreneur, so you're in short supply, believe it or not. There's a lot of capital chasing a lot of, a lot of bad deals. Uh, if you're really good at what you do and you believe in yourself, be humble and get the first shot. Get a deal done is my advice there.
Right.
But also know your worth and don't be afraid to walk away if something's unreasonable for you.
Definitely sound advice. You make a good point there as far as um, some firms chasing companies that aren't worth it, or just throwing money at stuff. So I've kind of heard the same as far as capital venture firms are maybe out there waiting to invest money in startups and new technology and things like that, but it's not being brought to them at a frequent enough rate. I mean, it sounds like you're confirming the same as far as that mindset is said.
Well, the best investors get the most deal flow,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more capital. To your point about baby boomers, there's just a lot more capital that's entering into that point where people are looking at alternatives like venture investing. There's AngelList. There's a lot of money, and the Jobs Act is available, meaning that people can, raise money from accredited investors.
So if a company receives multiple offers from different investors, what's your advice to them as far as about making the best, most sound decision?
Well, congratulations, first off. That doesn't happen to a lot of people,
Okay,
so
good to know.
appreciate it for
Yeah,
what it is. Even if the offers suck, you still did a good job. You got some offers, but um, the real thing is when you're raising money and you're not that experienced, you're not going to know all of the terms and
yeah,
what they mean. So it'd be very wise to go and check out the NVCA, the National Venture Capital Association. They have a website, and it has all of the standard terms and documents that you would expect. So if an investor deviates from those terms, you really need to understand why and examine maybe the investor and the expectations you're setting, because you really want to stick close to those terms, which are going to be more favorable for you as a founder. And there's a lot of inexperienced investors out there who don't know how to make these terms, and the wrong terms set a bad precedent, and can hurt you down the road when you're raising additional capital.
yeah. Great advice. Thanks for that. And then I guess once a company has landed the deal and gotten some funding, what are some tips or advice that you have as far as maximizing the length of that allotted amount of funds?
Mm. Well, it's I don't know if I would answer the question that way to maximize the length, because I think oftentimes when you go from pinching pennies to survive in order to raise money to having money, if you keep that mentality, it can really screw things up. You have to spend money to make money.
Yeah,
You can do it in a smart way, but also pay people the appropriate salary, give them equity. Uh, Equity will lessen the cash offer. Use Index Ventures equity calculator
yeah,
online. If you search that, you'll find some really good ways to figure out salaries and equity balances. That usually stretches your cash. There's R&D tax credits available to uh, not have to pay payroll, the 6.2% payroll to the government.
yeah.
Um, you can use Amazon Web Services credits if you're building on Amazon and get all those credits to discount the costs.
Okay.
There's various startup programs as well and softwares. If you look, many companies, SaaS businesses, they build their businesses on SaaS. So they give away software to startups for free or even at a very discounted rate. So there's a lot of things that you can do creatively out there to find money or find cheaper ways to build your business, um, especially if you're in the software category. But don't be cheap
Yeah,
with your expenses.
yeah. I'm learning a ton,
Difference.
so I'll have to have you back on again sometime and do a deeper dive into certain of these questions. But to start wrapping this up here, what are some people, books, or resources that have made an impact on your life or your business?
uh, I think that The Millionaire Next Door was a really awesome book that kind of put the picture about what it's like to get to be a millionaire and all the different ways that you can get there. I think
Yeah.
it opens your horizons real nicely.
Mhm.
Deep Work is a book that I'm reading now, which is influential now, especially because all of us are working remotely and we've got distractions through our computer. If we're working remotely and on the computer, that becomes a problem. And the lack of social interaction intensifies that distraction. So Deep Work talks about being able to focus, and it's related to somewhat about recent times. So it's good. It's a good read.
Then lastly, where can people connect with you if they want to, info on raising capital or your software or just general personal or business advice?
Yeah, I love to help other entrepreneurs. So reach out to me on LinkedIn, Jake Marmulstein, and groundbreaker.co is my website for my software company.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll be sure to link to those in the show notes so people can find you as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Eric.
Yeah, Jake, appreciate the crash course on raising capital, and good luck to you in your business. That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.